I'm just in shot and I'm painted yellow. Did anyone else catch that yellow mug?
I think she was gurning at the camera. I think she drooled a little bit when Archie Punjabi walked past. Hello and welcome to the So Sweet podcast with Kat and Tip. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm absolutely fabulous. How are you doing?
Yep, not tired at all.
Oh no, I'm definitely not tired. We're definitely not recording this at 11 o'clock on Monday evening.
No. You've been at work today. I've been at work today.
Yeah, this is definitely a good idea.
I've done 2 14-hour shifts this week.
Yep.
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
If we start going slightly hysterical by the end of the podcast, it will probably be 2 a.m, and that's why.
When we start going slightly hysterical.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm already there, however.
Yeah. How's your week been?
Well, it's only Monday, so I'm hoping
your previous week since the last pod.
Honestly, I can't remember.
Good.
I think it was good. All my days roll into one, and you know what my memory's like. All I genuinely can think about is Doctor Who. That's all I've been really thinking about, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
This has taken over my life.
Life.
This has taken over my life. Yeah.
Well, should we...
How was your week?
Yeah, it's been alright. I actually got to watch this on Saturday.
Madness.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen it?
Twice.
Oh, okay. I beat you.
Yeah, per. No, I've seen it twice.
Okay. Well, I feel like you needed to watch it more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a certain scene a couple of times.
The best scene,
which
probably.
we'll get into. Should we? I don't think there's any news or anything other than like what's coming next week. And
I think you have a public announcement. I do believe that.
I believe we'll get into that in a bit. We'll get there.
Tip has a pretty big announcement to make, actually.
Anyway, should we jump in?
Yeah, sure.
To the Interstellar Song Contest?
Yes.
There's a lot to talk about with this one.
Right. Well, you lead the way. I'll follow.
Yeah, we should talk about the main talking point that everybody's talking about.
Dugga Doo, Dugga Doo, Dugga Doo.
Correct. Dugga Doo.
Yeah.
I'm a Dugga Doo stan.
So am I.
Yeah.
100%.
This is why we need soundtrack releases again. Please.
I was going to say it's a crime that Sam has this on his laptop.
Yep.
He was like, insider knowledge, it's 53 seconds. I was like, wow.
Oh my god, 56 seconds of Dugga Doo.
53 seconds of Dugga Doo. That little kid.
No, let's jump in. I think we'll jump into the big talk, or one of the 2 big talking points and discourse after this episode, and one that I definitely feel more qualified to talk on. So, that Mrs. Flood character.
Yeah. Oh, who is she?
Well, so for those who didn't haven't heard our very first episode, we did some predictions.
We did, didn't
on the then upcoming season 2.
Yeah, what did we predict?
And we had a bet.
What did we bet
on the identity of Mrs. Flood?
Did we?
Regarding whether or not she was a character. I don't know if you're familiar. A character from classic Who called the Rani.
The Rani.
The Rani, yes.
Interesting. Right.
You believed that she would be that character.
Yeah, I did think Mrs. Flood would be the Rani.
And I said that she wasn't.
Yeah, you did it, and you were quite ruthless with that, actually, weren't you?
I was pretty
You're
sure.
Pretty strong.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
so what was the bet?
The bets
go on.
Were that if I lost,
yeah,
I had to publicly declare my love for...
No. You had to list all of the reasons why Fear Her is a good episode.
Yeah.
So that's upcoming, isn't it? Is it?
Well, you see, I believe that would be the case.
What?
If
you are not like looping hole this.
If Mrs. Flood were revealed to be...
Absolutely fuck off. No.
No. No, you're not doing this to me. If she were revealed to be the Rani, and the use of
your
the article the I do believe there's a line of dialogue where
I'm
Archie
furious.
Punjabi's character, who refers to herself as the Rani, refers to Mrs. Flood as a Rani.
I'm furious.
So
I'm furious.
I think, I mean, really?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm kidding, of course.
I'm nearly in tears.
No, yeah, she's the Rani sort of somehow. So
My generation, babe.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter if you want to see a man.
I think it should be a whole video.
Try and
it should be a whole video.
Yeah, maybe I will do a video. Maybe I'll do a
full
video
edit
on why Fear Her
a
slapped,
video
actually.
essay on why Fear Her slapped.
Can't wait. So stay tuned for that, folks. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
She's the Rani.
She is the Rani. Also slow.
I beg your pardon?
She's so slow.
Well, new Rani slay.
How do you feel about?
I guess Mrs. Flood is kind of slay.
Her wardrobe is.
Yeah, I do like Anita Dobson.
Yeah, I just feel like
The character's a little bit
right. No.
thin.
Well, exactly. How do you feel about the bi generation? Because I feel like she should have just regenerated.
Yeah, so
I don't really understand. I mean, I guess we'll figure out Mrs. Flood's purpose if she really has any in the finale, but I feel like probably not.
I think it was the well, and that was the one where I said,
"Oh God,
oh, she's talking about sciencey things. Maybe she is." And then in this one, I kind of.
Well, she had Gallifreyan on her little.
Yeah, which I didn't
device.
spot until afterwards when people pointed it out. But she had a little device, and all of that. I was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, she probably is. So that wasn't the surprise as such.
Did you think that when she had the device, it felt a bit panto when she was like, "Yes, just as I predicted, whatever. That's the last whatever."
Yes,
it sounded
exposition, everyone. Just so you all know. To be fair, I'm surprised she didn't break the fourth wall because she's been bloody doing it the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Like
it was just her delivery. Yes, and I was just like, oh, fuck me. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the budget, because when she came out of the chamber, as soon as she was saying about the double brainstem, I was like, right,
here
cool.
We go. Here's a
then all for a time, lady.
Yeah. I screamed.
And then the regen effect. That I was like, oh, okay, we're doing like a utopia.
Yeah.
I will say a poor man's utopia.
Yeah,
but a utopia
nonetheless.
Vibe.
Yeah.
The bi-gen did take me by surprise.
The bi-gen also took me by surprise.
I don't think anybody was sort of
expecting that again.
Unless that's something that leaked, which I feel like it might. I've not seen any of the leaks. It didn't.
I don't think it did.
Okay.
Actually, no, I don't think it did. See,
I think it's immediately. I don't really love that the bi-gen's been brought back.
Well, this is the thing, because I don't.
Done it again.
I don't mind when the Doctor bi-generated. I wasn't like mad at it. I was like, okay, this is cool, and I know people had a real like big reaction to it. I was like, okay, that's fine.
I quite liked it. Yeah, it's flawed.
Yeah,
but I thought it was something new and interesting, and
with all the things that were
potential.
Yeah, absolutely. There. So I was like, yeah, okay, like I don't have a problem with it. When it happened again, I wasn't like, oh, okay, this is not great, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, took me by surprise. I was like, that happened. I think it takes away out a little bit with the whole, this was believed to be a myth. Nobody believed it existed. Now it's happened twice in a row.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that it's this great Time Lord myth that nobody thought was happening, and then it's happened in relatively quick succession.
Yeah.
To two people that went to school together.
Yeah.
That's a coinkydink.
But I mean, if it's something to do with the Pantheon, if it's still something like that, so the bi-generation is happening because something. See how good I'm explaining this? But I mean, if it's something like that, then okay. I mean, I'm not mad at it, but I was just it shocked me.
I'm not mad at the end result of us having two Ranis, especially.
No.
Mainly because there's an interesting dynamic there which I think is I don't know if that's going to be like explained.
Well, they released a clip today, this evening. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Because it's continuing that kind of dynamic between the two Ranis.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope it's not like that constantly though, because that will grate
it'll be grating.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anita Dobson is essentially
the Rani's bitch.
Archie Punjabi's like little lackey, like a little Igor situation.
And do you know what? Some would say that's the perfect place to be.
Oh, are you lusting after the Rani?
The gay panic I had. Sorry, I shouldn't say had. Have.
Present tense. Currently still having.
I've never had that. Like I've seen with people like with River Song and like Missy and things, and then being or like even like Agatha from like Agatha Along or whatever it's called from Marvel.
I thought you meant Agatha Christie.
No,
Unicorn in the Wasp.
I've never had that.
Right. Yeah.
I'm experiencing it for the first time.
Interesting.
And I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
I would die for that woman.
Damn.
The Rani's got me in a chokehold and I'm okay with that.
Well, that's exactly where you'd like to be. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but I wonder if that's... It seems like almost the personality is split almost. Because, you know, Anita Dobbs, like Mrs. Flood, as I'm just going to call her Mrs. Flood.
Yeah.
And call Archie Punjabi's iteration the Rani, because that's kind of what I know I was joking earlier, but that's kind of what it is. The whole I'm the Rani, she's a Rani.
I wonder if it was copyright, if it's not like the Rani that we've seen previously on the screen, because it's a bi-generated version of it, so it's not the same character, but it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely had to get the rights.
Well, I mean, but it is credited, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because it's Pip and Jane Baker, isn't it?
Yeah. It says the Rani created by.
Yeah. It feels almost as if the personality split, because Mrs. Flood has been very sinister and enigmatic and, you know, sort of like quite the storm is approaching and, you know, and all of this. And then as soon as they split, she's like, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
And the new Rani is very much that.
Yeah.
Very like confident, more villainous, you know. So I'm interested to see how that works. It almost felt as if they were doing like a Utopia thing, where Mrs. Flood is the Professor Yana character,
yeah,
but also knew that she was the Rani, despite.
I was gonna say she knew who she was.
Yeah, but I'm interested to know how, because. There's something of that thing of like it being released, of it, her being inside her.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's. Kat just raised her eyebrows at me. I wonder if there's something like her death was what released the Rani essence slightly leaking into Mrs. Flood's personality and whatever, and then they die, bi-generate, and that's the Rani there, and she was like the host for... I don't know what they're going to do.
I'm trying to think what the Rani's last story was, because it was Big Finish.
Well, there's a few Rani stories. Her last, I mean, depending on what you count as canon.
Dimensions in Time was
her last appearance.
But Russell counts that as canon.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
There'll definitely be some kind of cheeky reference to Dimensions in Time in there.
Oh, yeah.
But also interesting that, you know, there's been a lot of theories around the whole thing of like being inside a TV show and the meta fictionality of stuff, and obviously some of the marketing of them turning up in EastEnders and for like in the trailers and stuff. It's interesting that the Rani's last story was one where Doctor Who turns up in EastEnders.
And now I've seen the released photos for Wishworld.
Yes.
Which does look very WandaVision.
Yeah, like very sort of not alternate universe, but
well, you know, I think it's Pocket Universe situation anyway.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're doing with it, because I actually have no idea where they're going.
Obviously, you know, I look at the set and I went down a rabbit hole. But in one of the images, You know have you seen the image of the Doctor looking at the mugs, the yellow mugs?
Yes.
I was like, I've seen that yellow mug before, and then I went. So I went back, and it was the meta sequence in Lux where Belinda's holding a yellow mug, but it's got a different coloured inside. So don't worry. But,
you're the mug.
Yeah,
is what you found.
yeah, I am.
I recognise that mug. It's me.
It's me. I looked in the mirror. No, the ones on the table have a white inside, and the one that she drank out in Lux has a yellow inside.
So what you've done there is you've spotted 2 yellow mugs.
And thought meta-narrative.
Wow, you're really...
Hey, I'm piecing.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work.
I thought after Snow last series, you might have stopped on the sort of slightly obsessive deep dives into innocuous details, but...
I realised 'twas not the right mug.
It was not the one.
So ignore that.
What do you make of it being the Rani that's come back? I know that you guessed it.
Yeah.
But like, what do you make of the fact that we've got because we've got another Time Lord back, and there's been obviously been a lot of I'm the last of the Time Lords, and I know we get that.
Yeah, but whenever he's like I'm the last of the Time Lords, then another fucking Time Lord turns up.
Yeah.
Every time he's like, I'm the last one, and then the Master, now the Rani, or someone's like, no, you're not. I'm here.
Hello.
No, do you know what? When it first happened, one of my colleagues at work said, do we have to worry about her? Because I was happy stimming so hard, rocking so hard.
Oh, I thought you meant, do we have to worry about the Rani?
No.
Do we have to worry about her?
Kat, I just need to know. Do we have to worry about the Rani?
Because I've seen the promo stills. There's a yellow mug. Do we have to worry about her?
I'm sensing a meta narrative, and I noticed the mug, and it's very similar. Do we have to worry about the Rani? Oh my goodness! No, I was rocking backwards and forth like an insane person, and I was just having the best time. So I was very excited by it. I screamed. I was like, "I've won the bet. The Rani's back. Let's go." Realistically, I wasn't expecting the Rani on my 2025 bingo card, but here we are. I did think it was going to be the Rani, but you never expect it to be the Rani, do you?
Well, yeah, I think that was the main thing. It felt like so obvious they would never do it. Oh, there's a mysterious enigmatic woman. Could she be this mysterious and enigmatic woman that everybody thinks every mysterious and enigmatic woman is? Every time a woman turns up and we don't know the identity, it's like, it's the Rani.
Or it's Missy.
It's Missy, it's River Song, it's Susan.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that in this episode
we get Susan and we get the Rani.
Yeah. It's almost like Russell went, all right, just stop talking about it now. I've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, shut up.
Hold on, Series 10 soundtrack. Series 10 soundtrack. I want the Series 10 soundtrack.
Imagine it's that meta. There's a Series 10 soundtrack that appears in next week's episode. Just behind a yellow mug.
I'm just in shot and I'm painted yellow. Did anyone else catch that yellow mug?
I think she was gurning at the camera. I think she drooled a little bit when Archie Punjabi walked past. Speaking of which, Archie Punjabi.
Incredible.
Look, already,
it's so, like, she's just got it. She commanded the room. Yeah. Her line delivery, like just how she was, her whole presence. I was like, I was so confident. Seeing just like, what was it, a 2-minute clip or whatever. I was like, she's the Rani.
She's just got that gravitas and that, like quite camp, but not playing it. She's not chewing the scenery, but she's getting just that camp villain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's Mother, and that's all we can say.
She was definitely channeling like a bit of Kate O'Mara there.
Oh, 100%.
But that's the other reason I didn't think Mrs. Flood was the Rani, because it was like, well, she doesn't act anything like
it. Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm curious to see how they play that one in Wishworld. I love her costume though, as well.
The costume looks great.
The costume looks amazing.
The, like, sort of dark red. And
I just can tell it's a custom piece already, which is really annoying because I would wear that. all of the time. That's my next cosplay.
You'd shower in it.
Honestly, already I'm like, right, how can I ID a leather jacket and then somehow make it into a dress? I can just stitch the skirt on. It's fine. I can definitely do a Rani cosplay. I'm very excited and happy for it. I can't believe it's happening. I'm gobsmacked. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and she's a great actress.
Yeah. 100%.
As much as it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of predictable that it's the Rani. Then I got distracted by the Bi-Gen and being like, what the hell's happening here then? But I am actually looking forward to seeing just more of her and what she does with that, and seeing what, because really, the Rani was a bit of a naff villain, like in the classic era.
No, she wasn't naff. She was just doing her thing. She was just doing her little science thing.
That's what I mean, but like, she was just like a scientist trying to do her own thing. Like,
well, this is what excites me the most, because I saw some theories on Twitter and now I'm obsessed with them and I want them to be true, and if they're not, I might cry. I mean, okay, Russell's probably come up with something great, probably, but I'm now addicted to the thought of, because everyone's connecting space babies and the Rani, and then all of the babies growing in the little tubes in space babies, and now I've seen people making connections to looms and the Rani.
Oh, like the lung barrow
stuff.
The
lung barrow stuff, right?
Christ, that'd be a deep cut.
Right, so imagine the Rani experimenting, growing Time Lord babies.
That'd be dark.
How sick would that be?
In all senses of the word.
Because they said it's like a Space Babies sequel.
Yeah.
Poppy's back for some reason.
Yeah.
We've got scientist Rani, whatever. And then piecing it with like the looms growing Time Lord. And then I thought, because also could be a development on the Timeless Child arc, doing like parallels to that, because we never got to see that out to full fruition. I just thought that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think I could go for something like that.
I want that to happen.
It's like a half decent reason to bring space babies. Like, if we've got the space babies in it, or at least Poppy's in it, like it's as good a reason to explain that.
But also, I'm just trying to think of like piecing things together. I'm trying to think what experiments or like sciencey things that the Rani could be doing. Because could she be trying to make, like, taking like the Earth into a different universe, trying to make it Gallifrey again, or her own version of Gallifrey, or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, because she was, when I say she was a bit of a naff villain, she wasn't naff, but like it was fairly relatively small scale.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's no, like, she's not the master trying to be like, I'm gonna rule the universe and like panto laughing. Like, she was very much just doing her own thing, and they were kind of twisted, weird experiments.
Yeah.
And the Doctor would get in the way, and she'd be like, "Oh, for God's
please,
just
can you just
get off?" Like,
yeah.
So I think it's interesting to have her as like a big bad, like a series finale.
Yeah.
Scale villain.
Yeah.
And it looks like we've got very high stakes, and we're like, well, we're so still... maybe we have cranked it up, and it's like her experiments are universe scale stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
not seeing it. I don't
know. We're one man down on the unholy trinity.
I genuinely thought you were going to say we're one man down, and I had a minute of being like, do we usually have somebody else with us?
Who's the third person?
Yeah.
Who's the secret third?
Actually, that brings us up. That's a nice segue. The third unofficial member of the Sensory podcast is one Mr. Sam Dinley.
Yes.
Who wrote our theme tune.
Yeah.
And I think he's done some other work for some projects or something, but that's probably like his sort of the jewel in the crown. I think he's done some work on, like, I don't know, like Oscar-winning films or
things like that.
Critically acclaimed science fiction series, Doctor Who, or something like that.
It's like Murray's Gold assistant composer or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently. Yeah. I don't really listen.
Plus other things that he does.
Yeah, but he wrote the Sensory podcast theme tune.
Yeah.
And No,
bless him.
Yeah, so friend of the pod and more than a friend to you.
Thank you.
Sam
A best
wrote
friend.
A best friend who definitely won't be narrowing his eyes at you thirsted after the Rani. Yeah, so Sam wrote the score for the Rani reveal.
He did.
Which is sick.
It sounds incredible, right?
Yeah, really, really, really cool.
I was so proud. When I listened to it, I was like, yes, let's go. And then it's obviously used throughout the finale as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to hear more.
So is that going to be, is that like the Rani theme?
Yeah. Well, you heard it in
the for the Rani.
Yeah, when did you see the clip that they promoted of the Wish World?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could you not hear it?
I had to watch it with subtitles on.
Oh.
So I could,
they were playing the Rani's theme as she was talking. Okay. And I was like, whoa, there it is again!
Yeah, really, really cool. That like demonic choir.
When I first heard it, I was like, that's Dalek.
It's interesting you thought Dalek because I went to the Toymaker.
Did you?
Yeah, because of the choir and the clanging.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the Toymaker theme. That like.
Oh yeah.
You don't sue me.
Yeah.
I know copyright detection will be straight on that, thinking it's the official release. Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna try a little bit of sizzle for a future episode. We might try and get Sam on to do a bit of an interview and talk about his work on the series.
Too, yeah.
And the podcast jingle, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. That's his biggest.
Yeah, it's his biggest piece of work. Yeah.
Everyone's heard it. Everyone knows it.
Yeah. So no, really cool, great stuff.
Cool.
I thought the score of this whole episode was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm getting good at these segues. Leads us into the story proper.
But I was having such a nice day. Slitheen. I wish it was a Slitheen story because it was probably better.
So I gather from your rather exasperated sigh that you're perhaps not a fan of this episode.
I am a bit... It has me all over the place. How it's like visually presented to me, aesthetically and stylistically. And I don't know if it's just the basic part of my brain being like, pretty colours and songs. Right?
Right, yeah.
Right. I'm like, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
Right? So I watched it the first time and was like, I'm enjoying this.
I really hope that's exactly what you did whilst watching it.
Right,
like playing with a rattle.
Yeah,
like
I'm a space baby. Oh, right?
She just did a horrible little jig as she said that as well. I really didn't like that.
Horrendous. So like the very like unprocessed basic parts of my brain was like, oh, I like this. But then I was like, but the content I don't like. Passively, if I passively watch it, I'm like, okay, this is a Doctor Who episode. But then if I use my brain and my knowledge and put my opinion to it,
my brain and my knowledge,
my brain and my knowledge. It's midnight. If I
no, that was 3 weeks ago.
Oh God, I'm on the wrong episode. If I put any ounce of opinion and knowledge and anything to it, I'm like, actually. It's a 5 out of 10, maybe okay. A bit lower.
Interesting.
Because so I can tell you.
So what you're saying is not that it was style over substance, but like you liked the style and the presentation of it, but not the actual
content and
plot.
What. If the issue is, it's the third act for me. The first act, I'm like okay, like I'm generally on board with this, and even rewatching, I don't really have that much to say.
Yeah.
Second act, I'm like, don't have much to say if the payoff was different.
Yeah.
But because the third act's so bad, that eats into half of the second act.
Yeah.
Because that I know the resolution isn't there, which then ruins the whole episode. And sometimes I can say, okay, the ending was poor, but the other stuff of the episode's good, so that's fine. But this resolution is so poor, it's detrimental for the whole episode, which is leaving me pushing it to the lower ends.
Okay.
And I also feel, sorry, and then I'll let you talk. And I also feel, again, as I say, the Susan jump scare. The issue is, it just doesn't. It feels like it's not meant for that episode, and it's the same with the Rani reveal that's tagged on the end in a post-credit scene. Like, when you think about it, we just got the Rani by generating in 2025, and it was a post-credit scene.
See,
what?
Because I saw a few people say that they didn't like the fact that it was a post-credit scene and it should have been part of the episode proper. The reason they did have it as a post-credits is because they want the end of that episode to be the reveal of the Earth being gone and the explosion of the TARDIS doors. You can't then have that and then cut back to this is who Mrs. Flood is.
No.
Also, you couldn't have that vice versa.
No.
Because they're two things that are like big cliffhanger and they're trying to have the cake and eat it by doing two.
Yes. However, what happened to having something like that? I understand 8 episode count. What happened to creating a story around one event? You could absolutely, if you wanted to, put the Rani in the Interstellar Song Contest or whatever. What's it called? That's what it's called. Yeah. I don't know where you would go with that. But even if the post-credit scene, could you imagine that as a cold open and then have that regeneration and then cut to title sequence?
But you want to, marketing wise, you want to go, what's make sure you tune in next week, what's happening? And then
I just feel bad with her regeneration being a post-credit scene.
I don't mind it being a post-credit scene. My bigger gripe with it was that it looked like it was shot in a cupboard.
Because it was shot in a cupboard.
And I don't think it's even really the effects, but I think the direction and just the actual moment where they split, and it's just them sort of like the expression they've both got when they're looking at each other is like, "You alright?"
Yeah.
Like it's so. Whereas you compare that to like, and in the Unleashed episode, the director's talking about how they watched how they did it in the giggle and like the technical aspects of that, and I think that's another reason this didn't work for me, because it was shot so plainly.
Yeah.
Whereas
At
in the
least in the giggle
with
had
Chanya
that,
Button, you've got that gorgeous like
all round
over
shot, isn't
like
it?
where it does like a 360 over them, and it's like such a like gorgeous and like really technical, complicated shot, and I think it sells the moment.
Yeah.
Because it's going, look at this. This is weird, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here we've just got two women just sort of vaguely staring at each other, and then there's a line, and then they kind of separate. I don't know. That kind of made me feel it took away from. I think having bi-generation at all, again, takes away from the novelty and the originality of having David and Ncuti split. But here, especially because it just looked a bit
naff. Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I know what you're saying, like that she should have had a proper moment in the episode itself. But then also I think there's an argument to say
But it wouldn't have been right for that episode.
Yeah, and also I think there's an argument to say that it kind of highlights it more by separating it from the episodes.
Yeah, but what if someone clicked off and missed it? Then what?
Yeah, but you could say the same about like what about the first Iron Man if people walked out in the credits and they didn't get the Nick Fury cameo. Like it's
Okay.
I didn't mind it being a post credit scene.
I just
or a mid credit scene.
I don't mind the fact that it is a post credit scene. I wonder if they could have made it an episode, just so that it was able to be an in episode situation.
I think the issue is having 8 episodes.
Yeah. Also great because it needed to be a different episode. I didn't
feel like they're that incongruent with each other. I think the only sort of victim of having all of the Mrs. Flood / Rani stuff and the Susan bits, although that is kind of tied to, the only victim of that is the fact that it's obviously a very politically rich story, like within the subtext. And maybe it would have benefited from having that extra time to delve into some more nuances and properly explore that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the political readings of it in a bit once I've had a break, because we're going to need it.
Yeah.
That said, I actually didn't feel like this episode was badly paced.
Oh no, the pacing was fine.
I thought the pacing was, like, considering it's not even doing 45, it's doing maybe 35, 40, because the last sort of 5-10 minutes is just set up for finale and all of that. It didn't feel like that's over then. And I still felt I think that in itself is quite interesting.
This is the issue that I have, because it was so well paced and it was such a like sound structured episode. That's why the Susan jump scares got me, because I felt like they were so out of what was going on, and I felt like they were placed in there because they had to be, not because it's what the episode needed, because he didn't listen to Susan.
So you think her being put in there is like set up for her rocking up?
Yeah,
in the finale?
She's not coming back for the finale, I don't think. I think that's...
So how do you mean they had to be put there?
For series 3.
Right,
she's not,
okay.
And this is what's going to piss me off the most, because I feel in my gut that Susan's not turning up for the finale.
Okay.
I feel in my gut that she's going to be the centre of season 3.
So it's annoying that they kind of put it here where it would seem that she'd be turning up next week.
Yeah, and she won't. So then, like, even though they're like seconds, it's still like
it's still a plot point, isn't it? It's still it's a beat. It's still time you've taken out of the episode.
Of the episode. So like, and it was just like, oh, what was it that made you stop? But it didn't take me out of it. What episode was that?
Oh, Lucky Day, when I was quite happy following the Doctor and Belinda.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of like slamming on the brakes.
So you know how that slammed on the brakes? Yeah. Every time Susan appeared on my screen, it slammed on my brakes, and I was like, Jesus Christ. The only thing that Susan appearing in his mind for some reason was to unfreeze him. Which I hope did that make sense to you? The fact that he thought about her and froze him.
Yeah, I think it's one of those like power of will kind of. That's one of the last things he sees, and that's what gives him fight to... I don't think it physically unfroze him.
But he literally unfroze. That whole sequence...
Really, he should be dead, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
They should all be dead.
Yeah.
I know they said the thing about the gravity field and whatever, but space seems pretty fucking cold.
Yeah. I have it on good authority.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, if we're talking logic and physics, like, equally, he probably shouldn't be able to fly through space with a confetti cannon.
I was literally about to say, in my notes, and I don't know if I'm just being boring and a party pooper, but that pissed me off.
You are being boring. I loved that. I genuinely...
Listen, I'm a girl who's a little bitch for confetti. Right? I love a confetti cannon more than anyone. Mm-hmm. But you can't... I'm not a science person. I'm not the Rani. I don't do science. But I think there's some sort of situation there where that's impossible.
The fact that the first science person you could think of was the Rani.
Well, she's my little science girl, isn't she?
Sure. No, it's probably not possible.
Yeah, exactly.
But it
annoyed me.
When has that ever stopped Doctor Who from doing something silly?
Actually, that's not possible. Have you met the toy maker? Have you met...
Well, not even that. Just like actual space stuff. And it's like, no, that one might...
Yeah, well, I don't know things like that. Anyway, the cannon pissed me off.
I really liked it.
I didn't like it.
So, I think I liked this episode more than you.
Oh dear, probably. I didn't like that bit.
Just in general, my biggest gripe with it is the politics.
Yeah. Which
we'll dive into in a bit.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you take the politics out of it, like if you take the sort of...
Well, that's what I mean. When you watch it passive, yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun...
Yeah. Happy colours. But I liked all the side character stuff as well. Like, is it Mark and Gary? Mike and Gary. I liked their stuff. I liked Cora.
That bit, I was a little bit less... I was like, okay.
I thought Cora and Belinda's scenes were really nice.
Yeah, it was all right, but like...
You just hate women, I get it.
Yeah. I love the gays.
Yeah. And the gays love you.
Don't they just? I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun episode, and then there were real dark moments in it. Again, not addressing the sort of subtext of and the readings and stuff. But I thought mechanically, it really worked. There were a few things I would have changed if it weren't for the slightly skewed optics and I think this would be like a 7 out of 10 for me.
Oh my god. I'm still pretty firm on my 5.
No. I'm saying without the politics.
I don't know.
The dodgy politics have brought it down. Not to a 5. I'm feeling like a 6.
No, I'm
it's a 6, just with things where I go.
Well, I can tell you specifically. It lost at the timestamp 29:46. That's where it became a problem.
Look it up, guys.
Yeah, on 29:46, it became a problem for me.
What happens at that point?
That's when Kid's about to do his final phase, and the Doctor turns up as a hologram.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's where it completely loses me.
So, like, the end, the third act.
The stuff before that, I can sit through fine. It's iffy still around the 34:13 mark. 37:04, I'm like, okay, but it's not quite there.
Again, do you want to tell me what's happening at these points, or am I meant to know by the timestamp?
You should know. So, revival booth sequence is your 34:13.
Is that where it got you back?
No, that's where I was like, okay, we could still do some work around here, but like it's getting a little bit better. And then you've got the VIP pod, and I'm like, okay, well, this is dragging a little bit. And then it's the 37:04 when Rylan and the cat lady with the now bandaged eye is like, and we're back. And then Cora's about to sing her song. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but then I'm still hung up on the politics, and I'm like, well, but we'll discuss it, so that's fine. And then 41:29, I'm still not there, and then I get dragged back down because it's like they've just seen the TARDIS. Yeah. So the TARDIS is just back, and then you've got Doctor and Belinda's sequence, which needed work. And then at the 43:15 mark, when Graham Norton's hologram, that's where it gets me back.
Okay.
For that sequence, and then the Rani, I'm fine. So it loses me a good chunk. So from 29:46,
so it's as you were saying, like I guess the third act.
It's his phase 3,
extended, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna list off a couple of things that I did like.
Yeah, and I'll list off things I did like too. So I have things I like.
Because I feel like the main bulk of this discussion will be the politics. Yeah. So I really like the tone of it, like the camp. Just fun.
I loved all of that.
Like even the really dumb, like Rylan coming out of the pod at the start, and it's like teeth. And it's like, dang.
Probably one of my favourite parts of the episode when she's like, Rylan, give me R, and he goes, "Aw," and she's like, "No, or AWE," and he's like, anyway, and I was just like, this is beautiful. Like at this point, like moments like that, I'm like, yeah.
And it's such a dumb joke.
Yeah, like, and it's just
such
beautiful.
a dumb joke, but I genuinely went. Yeah, it's camp.
Great. Yeah, it's great.
It's having fun.
I love how fun and camp it is.
I really liked all of the stuff with Mike and Gary. I thought they were really well characterized.
Yeah.
Those actors are both great.
Really good.
Some really nice little interactions there. My favourite little bit of the episode, actually.
Get in line or back of the queue or whatever it is.
Oh no! But yeah, I did really like that moment with them both obviously being a little bit like drawing over shooty, and then the other one being like,
excuse
all right.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. No, but one of my favourite little moments in this was when the Doctor's kind of on a bit of a mad one after he's just blown up the robots,
and he's like, I like you,
and he like bangs on the wall, and he's like, I like you. Thank God.
Yeah,
and I think I think it was played for laughs.
Yeah.
I would have been interested to see if it had slightly less of a, and I think that would maybe sell where they're going with the ending.
I agree.
And him kind of starting to lose his cool and be a little bit
I have things to say about this.
Yeah, I really liked that little moment. I thought also so as you say, this was like the most expensive. Obviously a lot of the budget was in that first act.
Oh my god, Liam, are you about to say that shot?
The shot
of all the bodies
going up. I genuinely gasped.
That is gorgeous.
Like,
in the most beautifully horrific way.
It's really like
horrendous, but
my god. Especially, I think, contrasting how camp and cheesy that opening is, and even once, you know, with Kid kind of storming the control room and all of that, and it's all like, you know, he's doing little one-liners and stuff. Yeah. It was, I'm having fun with this, and I'm gonna kill you all. Like the little like, oh, do you know my favorite kind of music? Pop.
Yeah.
And it's obviously like one line, and but then contrasted with that shot.
Yeah.
And then seeing the Doctor and Belinda just looking up, like, oh my god.
And then seeing them go, whoom. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that sequence of them losing. Yeah, that I thought all of that was really, really good. I know a few people were saying like, oh, it's obvious that's where they put all the money, because all the second act is them just walking around corridors and talking. And it's like, yeah, but also I didn't mind that.
They wouldn't have, like, realistically, they wouldn't have been there anyway, would they? Because the bubble bit's the only safe bit with the airlocks being sealed was in those corridors. So they wouldn't have been out there anyway.
I didn't get bored. It wasn't like, oh, okay, the budget's obviously not stretched.
The set and production is not what I was.
That is not the weakness.
That was not in any means. The songs were great. The prosthetics were great. All the different characters and aliens were great.
So the songs and all of that. All the prosthetics and all the designs and stuff.
I can't remember the names of any of them, but as soon as she walks on stage, you know who I'm going about. I was like, Janice, because her voice is so distinct, isn't it?
Yeah, Christina. Yeah. Christiana something. Yeah. As soon as she
opened her mouth, I was like, Janice.
I would have liked to see more of the songs, I think. Yeah. I'm not a Eurovision fan. Like,
neither am I.
I'm not. That's not particularly my thing. No. But the tone of where we were going. But I think maybe that's because we only really had 35 minutes to play with. Yeah. And you can't spend all of that time doing songs because we need to get the plot going. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it would have been nice to see a bit more of that wacky sort of. It was a little bit Douglas Adams-y, a little bit like End of the World, with that kind of like batshit sort of, and we're just going to throw all the budget that we've got at this. Yeah. You can have all of these different weird looking aliens.
I was not expecting, you know how Russell, I can't remember when he said it, he was like, oh, we've got a series 1 returning thing. I was not expecting it to be the fucking Delta Wave.
Yeah.
When Kid brought that out and was like, I got a Delta Wave, whatever he said, I was like, you've got a fucking what? Excuse me, what?
Yeah, Delta Wave.
And I was like, where did you pull that from, Kid?
Where were you hiding that?
You really don't want to know.
But I thought there were a lot of really good elements in this. I don't think this didn't break the streak of good episodes for me that a lot of people have been saying it has. And I understand why a lot of people didn't like it, and that there's a bit of an ugly shadow over it.
Okay. I know that I came in hard saying it's a 5 out of 10, and I'm not backing down from that. Okay. However, I don't, which is extremely contradicting, and I did say this was going to happen today. I wouldn't say it's a break in the good episode runs, though. Because
I'm pinching my nose.
I know you are. Because if I don't use that part of my brain and I sit and watch the pretty colours and the pretty songs and the campness and the fun of it, then I can sit and watch it. This will be an episode for me I probably won't choose to watch it if I fancy Doctor Who, but when I'm doing my series runs, I'm not going to skip it.
I think it's literally just that it has some very unfortunate optics in there. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
Apparently there's some kind of political subtext in this episode. Thoughts overall?
I looked through the lens of what it was intended. Mm-hmm. Because obviously it was written pre-Israel-Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, a lot...
It hasn't aged well.
Obviously, the Israel-Palestine thing's been going on for literal decades.
Yeah, but I mean...
But, like, pre the Hamas...
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been written and shot.
Yeah. So all of my notes are... not disregarding that, but I'm more focused on what the writer's intention was.
Yeah, because I think this is my thing. Because Gina Dawson is pro-Palestine. I don't think either her or Russell or Shooty or so many members of the production team and cast and crew would have intended for it to be a kind of dismissal or victim blaming or anything like that. Unfortunately, I can completely see how it reads as that.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think any of that was intended, but it's there.
Yeah,
it's there, and
it didn't age well, did it?
I don't think it's. I completely understand and empathise with people that have seen that or seen the handling of that subtext and gone absolutely and completely like derided it, because it is a very contentious issue that, you know, has weirdly, for whatever reason, divided people, by which I mean there are people that support Israel and their actions within all of this, which is mad to me. But, you know, the world is a mad place. But
it's just messy.
It's very murky.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think it really could have benefited from having a little bit more time to maybe explore the nuances, and if you were going to go for something like this where it's not black and white, that it's not an out and out allegory for we stand with Palestine.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to do that and you were going to go for something slightly more nuanced and complex, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah.
You need the time and the focus
on
that to properly explore it, so something like this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting. I know that it maybe sounds like I sound like a bit of a centrist and sort of on the fence and not really picking a side, but I didn't like where it was going. I can overlook it purely because I know that it wasn't intentional, and that the story, when divorced or detached from those elements, even though it does run through the whole thing, it's like we were saying earlier, watching it as a fun episode of Doctor Who, I think it stands up once you
dig.
Yeah. And admittedly, it's not particularly buried in there. It's quite
on
near the surface.
Yeah. That's why I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, that's my struggle. And my other thing is, like, I know like, we've been saying, like, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit, and like, it's because it's heavy and it's contentious. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't feel informed or educated enough on the situation.
Yeah, that's why I'm not saying a word.
To be able to come out to bat for either side, and that's my own ignorance, and that's my own. It's something that I'm aware of and have knowledge of and opinions of, but I'm aware that there are people much more qualified to talk about this than I am.
Yeah.
And equally people who feel much more strongly about it than I do, and it's a bit of a minefield. And it's very interesting that in an episode where we had the return of a classic era villain and the reveal of a mystery character and Susan popping up and set up for the finale and all of this, the main discussion points have been, this is a racist Zionist piece of media, and if you support it, you are da-da-da. And the other side of it of being like, it's really not that deep, it's a difference of opinion, and people have really been at each other's throats over it. You know, and
I put out a thing saying what were your thoughts on it, and I had 102 comments last time I looked, and it was pretty 50-50 on people who absolutely strongly loved it and people who really didn't like it.
Yeah. Like, I thought last week's was a Marmite episode. But I completely understand and appreciate and respect the conviction that people have in their opinions and their political ideals, and I don't think that you should sacrifice those in order to watch a piece of media. Equally, I don't think people that did enjoy it and had a different reading of it, I don't think it's fair to like belittle and sort of persecute them. For me personally, I've got to just have faith that it was a mistake. The optics of it, although not intended, don't look great, too murky, maybe needed some reworking or a rethink of how does this look.
Because even the like treatment of Kid, and some of the, not even the Doctor's actions in regards to like the torture and the dark side of him, but just some of his the things that needed to be resolved with him that didn't happen, and Belinda's characterization and things like that. If we're taking it away from, there was still just things
like narratively.
Things needed to be clearer and reworked there.
So obviously the main issue, and I realise we've not really said, the main issue is that Kid is a genocide survivor and is seeking revenge on his oppressors, but in seeking that revenge is looking to kill 3 trillion people, and is treated as just a villain, and that is a villainous thing. Like, that would make him a murderer.
What he's doing, his actions aren't okay.
That's very black and white. That is wrong.
Terrorism.
I'm like, bloody call the woke place, but I think that killing 3 trillion people is wrong. However, there's a lack of interest, although that might not be fair to say.
It's interesting, and I wonder how intentional it was. Belinda asks the right questions and gets more of the story, whereas the Doctor doesn't care to ask. He doesn't care to learn, and he takes 2 lines of dialogue as gospel, and then in his mind is like, Kid is evil, he's a monster, and then runs with that instead of asking any kind of follow-up questions. Even when more information's presented to him, he's still just kind of going in on Kid. But even when it's revealed at the end and he catches on, there's still no empathy. There's no urge for him to go and make what he did right, or any kind of apology or accountability for it.
And I think there are maybe some interesting readings there of that he does just see red and doesn't care about his backstory or whatever, and just goes, "You are scum, and I'm gonna enact some kind of." There's an interesting thing there about the sort of perpetuity of victims lashing out, and you've done this, you've killed or threatened all of these people, so I'm gonna hurt you. And Kid feeling like that towards the song contest and the sponsors and all of that,
and the corporation,
and then the Doctor feeling that towards him for threatening all of those people, and the sort of cycle of it's harm and not taking that time to discuss and understand. And
well, this is the interesting parallel, because Kid is very similar to what 9 was in Dalek in different contexts. And I would have liked to have had the Doctor in some way, and in this you can keep in the torture, you can keep in the dark side of the Doctor, and keep all of that what occurred, because that was interesting to read paralleled with Belinda. You can have all that, but him learning, understanding, and then being some kind of beacon of hope in I got through it kind of thing. Like, I've been through what a similar instance as to what you have, different but similar. This isn't the only way that you can do this.
Because, like, lest we forget, the Doctor, although it was kind of reversed, enacted genocide.
Yeah.
And has enacted genocide a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not on the scale that Kid would be.
Mm.
But I think maybe that's another interesting reading. Maybe it's the resentment for himself, and he's projecting that onto.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? He sees red so quickly because he's looking in a mirror.
Yeah, and I think
and he's got all his trauma on his back, which he says still not a justification.
Yeah,
which I was a bit peeved at. I was like, I understand that you were triggered.
Yeah,
but that's not. That doesn't make it okay, and I wish there was some accountability there.
I think there's. I saved a tweet.
Okay.
To read, because I think this pretty closely resembles and sums up my own feelings on the episode itself.
Okay.
And the politics. So yeah, it's a few tweets from at the third JP. Controversial take. I think the politics of the episode are bad, and I don't think the Doctor's actions are out of character.
No.
I just don't think the episode follows up on his actions the way it should have.
Yes.
The big problem with this episode and the discourse surrounding it is that all of it is lacking nuance, in my opinion. Mm. The episode paints Kid and his actions as a natural response to genocide of his planet, and the problem is, when you look at actual freedom fighting groups, their goal is never, let's just murder a bunch of innocent people that have no direct hand in our oppression. That's just not what happens.
Yeah.
And it damn sure isn't, let's commit genocide back.
Yeah.
And if it was, that would not be justified, which is why I say no matter what Kid's circumstance, the Doctor's response is not out of character, because, again, the dude wanted to murder 3 trillion innocent people.
Yeah.
The problem is that the episode nor Belinda adequately call out the Doctor for his behaviour.
Yeah.
They just acknowledge that it was scary and move on.
Yeah.
When, in my opinion, Belinda should be a lot more distant with the Doctor after that moment and be more resolute in wanting to go home.
Yeah.
I feel like the season struck a good balance at finding some of these things amazing, while also having experience that hardens her desire to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode, she just kind of seems accepting of the Doctor's dark side. And I feel like that's because the episode wanted to focus more on the fact that Susan is back and the Rani reveal.
Yeah.
But that plays into another criticism I have for this episode. While I think these moments are peak, they feel too disconnected from the rest of the episode.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that.
That's, and shout out to JP there, because they've completely summed up how I feel.
100%.
I think the issue is the lack of consequence for it.
And that's not just there's no consequence for the corporation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no consequence for the Doctor's actions.
Mm-hmm.
Belinda, after her no, she would run up and hug him. And there should have been conflict there.
I really wanted where I thought it was going. So the Doctor starts torturing Kid with the hard light hologram.
Yeah.
Belinda comes in and sees him.
Yeah.
And he turns and sees her. And I thought the emphasis should have been on because it's played more, oh my God, you've seen me doing this.
Yeah.
As opposed to, he thinks she's dead at this point. So,
but he knows that she's not dead.
He thinks that she's in the air.
Yeah, but I don't think his forefront is with Belinda. Belinda.
I think the moment there should be a look of, oh my God, you're alive.
You're alive, yeah.
Runs over to hug her and she's like, no.
Get off of me. What do you think you're doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I know you said about like the Nine and Rose interaction in Dalek.
Yeah, or like the I never would.
Or like 10. The in A Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah.
When Melody's been taken for the second time, the Doctor sort of sees Amy for the first time and like steps towards her, and she like backs away, and there's like no, I'm not. I don't know how I feel about this, but I don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you have the and really go, it's not out of character, but he's wrong for this.
Yeah.
Like it's vitriolic, it's vengeful, and like fueled by hate and malice and all these ugly emotions.
Russell wanted it to be a moment where the companion stops him.
Yeah.
So he was trying to recreate a runaway bride moment with the Rachnos and Donna.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that.
It doesn't hit the same.
It doesn't, because the actions following weren't right. Like, even Donna gives Ten a hard time.
Yeah.
He's like, come with me. And she's like, you scare me to death. But that whole sequence was done right.
Yeah. The fact that after seeing that is the time when she goes, oh, I've not told you, you're wonderful.
I was literally about to say, and then to follow it up, that whole sequence for me, if they didn't challenge him in the torture scene, I'm going to call it, then it had to have happened there.
Yeah.
And it didn't. He just went, I scared myself.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Like...
even after he's just heard Cora's song, and he's just had that revelation after hearing them all angry at her that she's a Hellion and they didn't know, and she started getting abuse from the audience before obviously all the claps and things like that.
Yeah.
Which again is I've got other thing. But then even then after all that, when he's talking to Belinda, and there's still nothing. There's still no empathy. It's still so not selfish, but yeah, I was really scared. I was really triggered. I was really this. Can you not remember what you just did to Kid?
Self-absorbed to a certain point.
There's no apologies.
And I don't think that that's wrong from a character perspective.
Oh, no, absolutely
Like, I don't think it's wrong to write him feeling like that. But you've got to then have Belinda
be the one to call him out.
Or the script itself in some way call him out for that and be like,
wrong.
This is like... Because otherwise it kind of wraps it up as like he maybe went a little bit far there, but ultimately he's in the right.
Again, this perpetual violence with violence, but that's okay.
Yeah, and
this cycle of violence that's happening. That's
exactly.
all right. Because he was triggered.
But equally, I think it's a very interesting parallel between the episode itself and the real world.
Yeah.
That this discourse has just people just at each other's throats and just tearing chunks off each other.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fair enough. It's a very serious and like contentious issue. Let's have conversations and share opinions without feeling the need to just
go in.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. People are going to feel differently and have different opinions, and because people have different perspectives and experiences and maybe just didn't read it like that or read it a different way, or no, I can see that point of view, and that's how you get to a point of learning and educating yourself and
creating that dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
But Belinda even does it in the episode, which I did like, when she was saying to Cora, I don't even know how to ask this question.
Yeah.
But she's going to ask it anyway because she wants to learn about the situation.
And there's a real like tenderness and respect to it. I think, like you say, I don't think having a fun kind of campy Eurovision episode and doing some quite heavy political commentary and exploring the Doctor's darker side and some interesting character stuff there. I think that you can do all of that in one episode. But I think when you've maybe not got time or aren't putting the focus on actually wrapping up that commentary.
I was going to say...
And wrapping up that arc and...
That would all be okay in the episode to explore that if the resolution was there and everything was tight-knit, wrapped up, and you were saying what you were intending and wanted to say instead of leaving it as muddy as it is.
Yeah.
The issue that I have with the resolution is the corporation still has full control of the scenario and has had control through it.
For this to work, I don't think you go back to, and we're back, and let's I think you maybe have the guys that are in that group deciding to live broadcast.
I was going to say,
a song without a kind of like...
What I wish would have happened is within that torture sequence, the Doctor learned what was actually going on. He stopped the dress rehearsal run, interfered, used this sonic to interfere with it, and live broadcast Cora's song, and done it that way.
Yeah.
Rather than then be like, yeah, okay, so... As exactly what you said, we're back and now we want you to hear a very special song and then Cora sing it, because again the corporation still have a narrative where they can go, look, don't listen to the things that we did to their planet, because aren't we good that we're allowing them to speak?
It's all about the resolutions. You need a resolution for the corporation do these horrific things, or having sponsors that have done these horrific things.
Yeah.
You need the Doctor to face consequences for the vengeful, like, judge, jury, and executioner, and going way above his pay grade just because something personally affected him.
Yeah. Like, I understand he had many levels of things going on. Mm-hmm. Because also so
because
did
that's
Kid.
How it plays.
But
it
again,
plays
also not an excuse. Yeah. But and that's the thing with Kid.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could see, even if it was while he was being tortured, if it was something he was crying out, but the Doctor's not listening because he's too in his head about other things, just where we could see or hear some kind of peaceful things that led up to this moment.
Yeah.
Just some sort of history, because we learn a lot of what people think of them, but we don't hear enough of what
they are.
They've been through. We can piece things together, but there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the episode isn't explicit.
Yeah. Maybe you could have even had, as the Doctor's torturing him, obviously you're getting these flashes of Susan in his head or whatever. Maybe you could have had these flashes of what happened to Hellion.
Yeah.
And whether that's just him thinking about it, or whether it's linked to like, you can explain it because he's linked to the hologram and touching him, and so whatever sci-fi explanation you want to give it, but like that he's going, oh, you're a victim, and again, not to completely 180 it and be like, oh no, you're good, actually you're just troubled,
because his actions are still incorrect,
because he's still a terrorist. I think that could be a moment of realization for the Doctor, and he should still be charged and arrested and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that bothers me is as well, when Kid and Wynn are arrested, or they're about to be arrested, and he still reinforces with, I've still got the ice in my heart and I don't think that's going to go away. Be careful, or stay safe, or whatever, take care. That was unnecessary.
Because I like that dynamic in a vacuum. Like, Shooty is electric.
I love all of it.
But not in this story towards this character.
It's misused.
Yeah. But yeah, just to kind of wrap up that little segment, I guess. It's messy. It's very muddy. I don't think people should dilute their opinions or dilute their feelings on it, because I think it's close to a lot of people's hearts and sensibilities. Equally, let's have a conversation rather than a screaming match. I think you can tell the difference between somebody that is misunderstanding or is maybe a little bit ignorant to something, or just has a different reading to you, versus just like an actively horrible point of view, an opinion. And if they're in good faith, then it's a conversation that you should be having, not going 12 rounds on a bloody Twitter thread. But in regards to the episode itself, messy, just needed resolution. It just needed resolutions and consequences, and I'm not sure why it didn't have that. I guess part of it might be that a lot of, as JP was saying, that a lot of it was given to Susan coming back. The Mrs. Flood reveal, and it's the Rani.
Which is what's going to annoy me if Susan doesn't turn up in this finale, which I have a gut feeling she's not.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice segue. Carol Ann Ford.
I know.
Like, to completely switch dials for a minute. Carol Ann Ford was back in Doctor Who.
No, I loved it.
Bless her. She looked great. I genuinely don't think she's aged since The Five Doctors. Was that the last one she was in? That was a bigger surprise for me than the Rani.
Oh yeah, 100%. Same here. I was not expecting Susan to crop up in that episode at all. And
I know you were saying like it felt like it didn't fit.
It didn't feel like it fit.
I think it was one of those...
Only because the Doctor just ignored her. I understand having intrusive thoughts and he didn't want to think about her, and she's trying to psychically connect with him
and he's
for some reason.
Trying to bury it down because
he doesn't understand what's going on and he doesn't want to think about it in this moment.
Yeah.
But and this is what I mean, she's like, stop grandfather, and he doesn't stop, and then Belle walks through the door and he's like, oh, I've got to stop now, and that feels weird to me.
Yeah.
I understand that Belle is a physical presence, so I understand that he doesn't want to to see him like that, and Susan's just a thought. But it was just.
But
a
I think
bit bizarre.
that's another reason I think it would have worked better if his thing was like, "You're here, you're okay," like, rather than like, "Oh my god, you've seen me do this." If it was just I'm not even thinking about this guy anymore. Like, I'm so glad that you're back.
Yeah.
And then her going, "No, don't touch me."
me. Yeah.
And you could maybe link that then to the Susan flashes. I don't know what you want to call it. Susan flashes probably isn't the best.
No, that's why I've been calling them jump scares.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Yeah. All in all, interesting episode. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. There's a lot going on in there. Generally, I feel more positively to it than I do negatively.
Yeah, the resolute. Normally, I can forgive an ending if it's not quite wrapped up how I want it to, but
yeah, because it's Doctor Who that does that all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
sometimes it'll just end without ending.
Yeah.
Name of the Doctor.
That I've erased that from my memory. I that's not even a thing. Anyway,
yeah. All in all, I'm feeling a 6.
See, it would probably be an 8 for me if the politics were ironed out then. So if they hadn't have fumbled the ending, I would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's the ending, because it fumbled so much. I can't give it an 8. It doesn't feel like a 7. I'm in the 5, 6 area.
Yeah. It's definitely as a result of the politics, it's definitely a low 6 for me. Yeah, interesting overall. This is usually the point where we do what did you guys think from tweets, but the one that Kat put out had a lot. And also our pancakes have just arrived.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be eating creeps. No, we're not. No, thank you.
No thanks.
No thanks.
Try again.
I've had my fill of creeps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at simplykatie_XO. Where can they find you, Tipper?
Thank you very much for asking. They can find me also on Twitter at Son of Biscuit, and also on the Son of Biscuit YouTube channel.
Interesting, which I should be listening to this on, possibly.
Yes, you may very well be. Keep watching, listening. Yellow mug.
Oh, fuck's. I will never live that down.
No, you are the yellow mug.
I am the yellow mug.
I'm going to Photoshop your face onto a yellow mug.
That's my... Oh, if only my birthday hadn't already gone.
Christmas present.
That's my Christmas present, just my face on a yellow mug.
Yeah. Well, in which case, we will see you next week.
See you next week.
When we review
Wishwell. Bye.
Bye. God, I'm tired.
Oh my god.